Hey gang, what's up? It's your guy coming to you live from Studio 405. Hey gang, what's going on? It's your guy coming to you live from Studio 405. It has been a busy weekend. We had rivalry weekend. Still can't say that right, but it did better this time than last time, where at least one team in the SEC was boxed out of the SEC championship game in Texas A&M with a loss to Texas, allowing Georgia to get in, and they will now be facing Alabama in Atlanta next week. I mean, Kirby should have just got the staff should have just got a hotel room for a week and let them use the Atlanta practice facilities, because God knows the Falcons aren't using it for anything. But I'm okay. I really am. Anyway, so there's that rivalry weekend, really crazy. Most of the games went as we expected. Like we said, we had some unexpected wins, and then we had a really unexpected big win because Florida absolutely throttled the will to live out of Florida State, a program that's pretty much on life support at this point. The season is thankfully, for FSU fans, season is thankfully over. And then there was the old Lane Kiffin saga. You know, that guy, the guy who had the knack for the quote-worthy quip before a game or after a game, the guy that walked up to a reporter after Saturday's game and said, "You want to call me a hoe?" And we see how I'm standing here now. Let's see how it is. Of course, he was surrounded by a bunch of state troopers when he confronted this reporter. So, anyway, I'm going to leave that where that is. But yeah, at the end of the game, Ole Miss winds up winning big over Mississippi State. The kids are happy. They're 11-1. And then they wake up on Sunday morning and find out their coach is possibly, they didn't know if the coach was leaving, and he never said, "I'm not going anywhere." He just said, "I got to pray on it." That's the number one tell. I said this in a video earlier today, that if he were not going anywhere, he would have said, "I have no plans to go anywhere. I am not in negotiations with anyone. I am the coach of the Ole Miss Rebels and will continue to be so until this administration and the athletic director say that it's time for us to part ways, or I retire," or even just give a really generic Lincoln Riley, "I'm the coach of the Ole Miss Rebs," and then slowly make your exit in the evening, pack your U-Haul and get out of Dodge. This guy said nothing. All the speculation, nothing. The talks, was he going to Florida? Is he going to LSU? Is he going to Auburn? Nothing. The plane is being spotted with his family flying to Florida, flying to LSU. Nothing said. And then, of course, then we get the notification that the athletic director is having a meeting with the team at 9 a.m, which then got pushed back to 1 o'clock, which I think got pushed back to 2. That poor reporter for ESPN that was just out there, just hanging out somewhere, just trying to get a crumb of a story. He finally caught Lane Kiffin. I think he cut him off trying to sneak out a back road out of athletic facility. I did post that one on social media. That interview can be found on This Week in the SEC on that page on Facebook. Anyhow, as it turns out, this guy, he took the job with LSU. He had the meeting with the AD, told him, "I'm taking the job with LSU." And according to reports, had nothing to say to his players. This is coming from the spun.com. And basically the athletic director came in and told the kids that Lane was leaving, and and then somebody else tried to, Lane came in and tried to, okay, here's an exact quote from one of the players' dads. Lane basically came in after the AD and tried to feed the player leadership team a bunch of BS, and they all just said, "Get out." That tells you how they feel about their coach already. You probably seen the video already of fans that met the private jet at the airport and were booing him and giving him the weird number one, and with the wrong finger at the airport and the whole nine. And just people are just, fan reports here, fan tweets here. If this team could go on a run and win it all, All of this would make it sweeter than it possibly could have been otherwise. Good signs out there today. Let's do this, boys. Another one said, reminds me when a USC player punched him in the face in the locker room and he had to don the shades and hoodie to hide his shiner. That's insane. So once again, Lane Kiffin walks into a good thing, a sweet cherry of a job, actually excels at it, and then absolutely burns everything to the ground on his way out the door. All of the relationships with the recruits, all of the relationships with you know what? I get it. He coached them to an 11-1 record, got them into the playoffs. They have a new head coach and assistant coach, Pete Golding. I believe he's a defensive coordinator. A little bit more on him in just a bit. But I get it. I mean, you got a guy that's on his way out the door to go play for a conference, to go coach for a conference rival. Do you really want that guy hanging around the program for potentially until January? Because it's December tomorrow. In another 4 to 5 weeks, college football will be over. But that's another 4 to 5 weeks that he's around these players and he's in their ear. Hey, man, come to LSU. I got a slot for you. Talking to the coaching staff. Hey, guys, come on down to LSU. I got a slot for you. Something tells me with the reception that he's getting, though, folks didn't care for him too much, but they won. And so since the results were being shown on the field, everybody was kind of willing to tolerate it. I mean, we shall see. We shall see. That should all shake out later on. But I mean, it started back in had to have been October or so. Lane made a flyaway statement about how much he admired Florida and Steve Spurrier, and then of course that sparked, hey, Lane wants to come and coach at University of Florida, yada yada yada. So then all of a sudden the story became he was either going to LSU, he was either going to Florida. Don't ask me how Auburn got in the mix. I have absolutely zero idea. But all of this went on. Eventually, the AD, Keith Carter, comes in and he gives this statement. Coach Kiffin and I met yesterday. He informed us that he's accepting the head coaching position at another school. For our program to begin preparing for its future, both the short and long term, he will be stepping away from the team immediately. With this development, we could not be more excited to announce Pete Golding as the next head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels. His tenure will begin immediately as he leads our program in pursuit of a national title. Today's team meeting was a clear indicator of his ability to galvanize our squad. It is let me stop here for a second. It does say that in another story that when they announced him as the head coach, he got a standing ovation from the team. So that speaks volumes about what the team thinks of him. Moving on to finishing the quote, all of our players and coaches are ecstatic and ready to lock arms for a playoff run. Well, I mean, what does that say, though? You have to ask that question. What does it say that you couldn't let this marinate for another 4 or 5 weeks? You know, everybody thought the school was crazy when they said, hey, look, we need to know if you're coaching us, if you're going to be the coach and you're going to stay here. But I guess once the story broke, it was kind of hard to put the elephant back in the cage. It was, it was out and it was already rumored that he'd gotten on a plane. He couldn't let that marinate. He couldn't have talked to his agent and said, hey, look, you handle all the stuff behind the scenes. I can't have this stuff being a distraction. I got kids here. I'm trying to get ready for a bowl game. I got kids. I'm trying to get ready for their last game of the season, the playoffs, a potential run into the SEC championship if A&M or Bama fall short, a run to the playoffs to potentially win the championship trophy. He couldn't let any of that marinate. Nope, got to go right now. Supposedly the contract is worth about $12 million a year or something like that with incentives, puts it pretty close to about $100 million, which is crazy. Don't ask me where they got the money because they're still fighting right now to not pay Brian Kelly. Or I think they were, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw something that said that he was not terminated for cause and that his payout would be going. But they were fighting Brian Kelly. They just got done paying off Coach O. That's insane. Where the heck did you come with? Never mind. I don't even want to know. The boosters and all of that kind of stuff. Boosters and NIL and sponsors. Oh, my. Anyway, the long and the short of this is that and this is just a personal opinion. This is just personal opinion. Lane Kiffin did those boys a disservice. Um, you know, your dedication to that team, I understand is money, but you're making good money already. But your dedication, you've just shown once again, because remember, he's got a history that your loyalty is to nobody but you. And you're going into a scenario where we see what a 3-ring it is in Louisiana, what with the governor. I mean, you already got fired from one team for telling somebody you weren't going to call any plays that they wanted. In the Raiders, for those of you that are wondering, he was somebody tried to call in and said they wanted to call some plays. He said he wouldn't call them. He got fired. Gone. You've already got fired from one team for not playing, for not following the hierarchy. You got a governor that thinks he runs the entire school, especially the athletic program, especially the football program. You've got an administration that's just starting to come together. I think they just appointed a president or getting ready to, an athletic director. So all of y'all are new. And the governor has already said his piece about how he feels about Ole Miss, about LSU football, which means y'all better toe the line. You're going to have to toe the line and show and prove. And even then, that means nothing because Ed Ogeron brought them a championship. And he's somewhere right now sitting on a beach with no shirt on, I'm sure, counting his $17 million buyout. So you did the boys a disservice. You actually did yourself a disservice also. You just brought this program to a historic 11-win season, 11-1 season. Had them on the very verge of being able to compete for an SEC championship. Should Bama have fallen to Auburn last night and potentially win a national championship. And you took all of that and threw it in a blender and put pickles in it and habanero sauce and some vinegar and said, and then dump it down in disposal and said, didn't want it anyway. So Godspeed to you, Lane Kiffin. I don't know what to say about that. I'm not here to condemn the man. I mean, $12 million is $12 million. But I mean, when you're making $9 million, maybe I'm looking at it from the standpoint of view of somebody who doesn't make $9 million a year. But when you're making $9 million a year, is the other three really worth it to just completely tear down? I mean, he's going to have, if he keeps going at this rate when he retires from college football, he's going to have made a lot of money and have zero legacy. He will be known as one of the most hated coaches in college football history by every program he ever coached for. They're the people that you don't think people have long memories when it comes to sports. I mean, ask the people in Boston about the curse of the Bambino and how they couldn't win a World Series for, God, I think it was 80 something years until 2004, 2005 in that time period. Ask them how they feel about that. Yeah. So, hey, Godspeed to you. I hope you do well. I'm sure he will because he has shown himself to be a very adept coach, but don't have a whole heck of a lot more to say about that from Lane Kiffin. Let's talk a little bit about Pete Golding. We did say Pete Golding was appointed the head coach moving forward, and seems to have a lot of the respect of his players. And they're right up here. Yep. And he was a 4-year starter for the Delta Statesman. He was a safety from 2002 to 2005. Immediately jumped into a grad assistant role right after that for one season. Then he moved on to be the defensive coordinator / D-backs coach at Tusculum College in Tennessee from 06 to 07. Then held the same positions at Delta State, and then he also served as DC at Southeast Louisiana, D-backs coach at Southern Miss. Then he was a D-backs coach at UTSA. His big break came when he had the opportunity to serve as a defensive coordinator for none other than who some people say is the greatest college football coach ever. If not that, definitely the greatest football coach in the modern era, and one Nick Saban at Alabama, and helped coach them to a national championship as the DC. And following that, he wound up coming to Ole Miss, and there he is now. He seems to be a guy. Just from what I can see so far, we don't hear a lot about the DCs unless you start getting to the assistant coaches, unless they're either doing an outstanding job or you get to this level where your team is in the playoffs. And that's when you start hearing about the associate staff, the head coach, and what the head coach likes to eat with his breakfast, and the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator. And he seems to definitely be a coach that the players respect and will respond to well, which is something that Ole Miss is definitely going to need at this point, with their head coach leaving, because, the conference championships are next week. And then after that, you have seeding. And then another thing, roll the thing back, roll it back to Lane Kiffin. There are some reports popping out, and I don't know if it's just hearsay or maybe somebody just postulating that maybe the committee might not look favorably upon Ole Miss now that there's a coaching switch right before the week, 2 weeks before the playoffs kick off. And I know for some of you say that sounds absurd. I mean, look what they're doing with Notre Dame and Miami. No knock on Notre Dame. It takes a heck of a team to win 10 straight games after losing your first two. But say what you want to say. I did have a discussion with somebody last week, and they were saying, well, those are ranked wins or ranked losses, or they played ranked teams or whatever it was. Wins are wins and losses are losses, because everybody is training to go to the NFL. And when you get to the NFL, wins are wins and losses are losses. And as the college football landscape moves to be more of a professional style football setup, especially with the players getting paid, et cetera, and now they're getting part of revenue share, things of that nature, it needs to start mirroring the pros. If you're going to pay them like pros and treat them like pros, and it needs to start mirroring the pros. Notre Dame was beaten by Miami. They have the exact same record. If they were in the NFL and they were in the same conference, Notre Dame would be one. I'm sorry, Miami would be one. Notre Dame would be two. End of rant. Keeping this thing moving along, though. Now you're talking about a playoff committee who might not even rank there. If it's true, they might move backwards in the seeding, which would affect them potentially having a home game, which could affect who they play, which could affect their chances in advancing in the playoffs. And all of that is set in motion because you wanted the extra $3 million and go someplace new. I'm not going to dog the man anymore. Pete Golding, best of luck to you. The Lane Kiffin saga continues. I guess definitely worth the popcorn. Speaking of, I really could go for a bowl of popcorn now. That sounds pretty good. Anyhow, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Good luck to those of you that had a very robust Thanksgiving break. Good luck to those of you that are going to work tomorrow. I myself have to do the same thing. And then Collin and I will be on later tomorrow night with more news. Whatever else news comes out about Lane Kiffin, we'll talk about the Dogs and their chances against Bama and the SEC championship game and all the other news that's fit to print. You guys have a great rest of your evening. We will catch you later. And oh, by the way, go Dogs.